Jolene, he drawled. Jolene, usually the most composed of the waitresses, looked like she had seen a ghost. She dragged him into the storeroom. Suppose you start by telling me what you're doing out of jail? She demanded. I've been out over a year, Jonas said, smoothly. I am now a bona fide, honest-to-goodness, investment broker. All your life, you've been nothing but a double-crossing, two-timing, lying, cheating con man. Jolene countered. Remember the savings and loan? Remember the car you sold me? It was stolen. I reformed. Jonas swore. I did my time. But Jonas had spotted a mark. A big, white-hatted mark named Mel Sharples. While Jolene was distracted, Jonas worked his magic on Mel. It's kind of hush-hush, but it's gonna make certain investors rich overnight, Jonas whispered to Mel over coffee. Rich overnight? Mel's eyes widened. Worms, Jonas said. Worms? Mel repeated. Earthworm ranches, Jonas explained with a straight face. You need worms to catch fish. Who do you think catches the worms? Worm cowboys. It was ludicrous. It was impossible. Mel bought it hook, line, and sinker. I've got $5,000, Mel said, pulling out his checkbook. That was your mortgage money, Alice would later remind him. That's exactly what they cost, Jonas smiled predatorially. I have a good little ranch here between Carson and Hope, Jonas pointed to a map. Johnny Carson and Bob Hope. And a nice little ranch right here next to Lonnie Anderson. That's the one I want, Mel declared. When Alice and Vera found out, they were horrified. He is a lousy, good-for-nothing con man, Jolene told them, tears in her eyes. Once, he even sold this poor fool a phony worm ranch. They rushed to Mel's apartment. He was sitting there, reading a book titled A Man and His Worm. You didn't buy into those worm ranches, did you, Mel? Alice asked. Oh yeah, Alice. We're rolling in it together. Me and Lonnie, Mel beamed. Mel, you've been swindled, Alice said flatly. Jolene marched into the room. Give me the check, she told her brother. Jonas looked at his sister. He looked at the check. And for the first time in his life, he saw something more valuable than money. He saw family. Here's your check, and here is your contract. Jonas sighed, handing them over. What in the blue blazes is going on here? Mel demanded, confused. You wouldn't believe me when I told you I'd reform, so I had to prove it to you. Jonas lied to cover his tracks. By taking $5,000 from Mel and then giving it back. I wouldn't do that if I was still a con man, would I? Jonas asked. Jolene looked at him, knowing it was a lie, but loving him anyway. I guess not, she said softly. As Jonas left, Mel looked at the torn contract. Now, Lonnie and me will never be able to work these together, he mourned. Alice patted his arm. Come on, Mel. Let's go open the diner. The sun set over Phoenix, casting long shadows over the diner, the theater, and the worm ranches that never were. Life went on, one cup of coffee at a time. Alice, The Phoenix Chronicles, a novelization of life at the diner. Chapter 1. The Ghost Light. The air inside the Little Palace Theater was stale, smelling of decades-old velvet, floor wax, and the nervous sweat of amateur ambition. But to Alice Hyatt, standing alone in the center of the stage, it smelled like oxygen. She closed her eyes, letting the heat of the single ghost light wash over her face. For a moment, she wasn't a waitress at Mel's diner. She wasn't a widow raising a teenage son in a one-bedroom apartment. She was simply a voice, a vessel for melody and longing. The piano player gave her the cue, a gentle, rolling chord, and Alice began to sing. I used to be sad. I used to be shy. Funniest thing, the saddest part is, I never knew why. She crooned, her voice resonating off the back wall. It was a song about transformation, a ballad that felt uncomfortably close to her own biography. She had spent years in New Jersey, years in a marriage that ended too soon, years wondering who she was supposed to be. She stepped forward, gaining confidence. Tricking myself for nothing was my favorite sport. I had to take off, start enjoying 'cause life's too short, she sang, punching the words with a newfound grit. From the wings, the chorus emerged. They were a motley crew of Phoenix locals, shop clerks, mechanics, students, but under the stage lights, they were Broadway stars. They joined her, their voices lifting hers. Things are great when you stand on your own 2 feet. The ensemble harmonized. Alice smiled. It was really happening. They had a show. They had momentum. And miraculously, they had Joel Grey, the Joel Grey, directing and starring alongside her. It was the kind of lucky break that didn't happen to waitresses in Arizona. And there's girls here to stay. With some luck and love, life's gonna be so sweet. Alice finished, hitting the high note with a clarity that made her chest ache. The music faded. The rehearsal was electric. I'm doing a musical review down at the Little Palace Theatre, Alice whispered to herself, savoring the reality of it. Then, the heavy metal door at the back of the auditorium banged open, shattering the spell. Mel Sharples marched down the aisle. He wasn't wearing his usual grease-stained apron or his white cook's hat, but he carried the aura of a fry cook wherever he went. A mix of bluster, chili powder, and impatience. Hey Mickey, what's up? I've got news, Mel bellowed, his voice echoing unpleasantly in the acoustic space. Alice felt a cold stone drop in her stomach. Mel, appearing at the theater, was like a bull wandering into a china shop. Only the bull was also the landlord, and the china shop was her dreams. What? Alice asked, shielding her eyes against the glare. We've got a producer, Mel announced, puffing out his chest. Alice exchanged a look with the piano player. The show had been on the verge of financial collapse all week. We do? Oh, who is it? She asked, hopeful despite herself. Mel hooked his thumbs into his belt loops, rocking back on his heels with a smug grin. Well. He chuckled, dragging out the syllables. The realization hit Alice with the force of a wet dish rag. Oh boy, I got all the luck, don't I? She muttered, the hope draining out of her. I first smelled for a producer, and now I get no leading man. It was Mel. Mel Sharples was the producer. The man who thought gourmet meant putting parsley on a hamburger was now in charge of an artistic endeavor. Don't worry, Alice, Mel said, misinterpreting her look of horror for concern. I got a terrific replacement. It's going to be the fabulous Jimmy Prescott. Alice blinked. Jimmy Prescott? Your bookie? He tells jokes. He sings. Mel insisted, waving a hand dismissively. Before Alice could argue that a bookie was not a suitable replacement for a professional actor, chaos erupted from the stage right wing. Joel Grey, looking frantic and clutching a suitcase, ran toward them. I can't believe this is happening, Joel panted, checking his watch. I just missed the 9:40 to New York. Of all the rotten luck. Joel. I don't know what to say, Alice stammered. Say you'll get me to the airport so I can make the 11 o'clock flight, Joel pleaded. Alice watched him go, feeling the production crumble around her like dry toast. Gee, it's just like a star is born in reverse, she said dryly. You came to Phoenix a star, and now you're going back to New York a nobody. As Joel vanished, Jimmy Prescott hobbled onto the stage. He was a small, nervous man who looked like he'd be more comfortable calculating odds at a racetrack than performing a soft shoe. I'd be told Gray, hey. I'd be told Gray, hey. Jimmy sang, executing a clumsy spin. Sorry, Pally. I'd be told Gray. He took 1 step, 2 steps, and then crack. Jimmy went down hard. A collective gasp went through the cast. What the hell was that? What happened? Mel shouted. Oh, Jimmy just tripped over Mr. Gray's tennis racket. A chorus girl squeaked, looking at the twisted wreckage of man and sports equipment. This is awful. I think it's broken. That's okay, Mel said quickly. I can have the racket restrung. No, I mean my ankle, Jimmy groaned from the floor. Alice knelt beside him. Easy. Here. I guess this means Jimmy can't do the show, huh? Alice asked, trying to keep the relief out of her voice. If Jimmy was out, maybe the show would be cancelled, sparing them all the humiliation. Oh, sure I can. Jimmy wheezed, his face turning pale. A doctor, who happened to be in the chorus, Examine the ankle. Mel stared at